when we're 7 years old. What is it that gets us out of bed?
Most of who we are is formed by the age of 8 years old. It's because we're so unconscious at that age.
We can't do this thing called life on our own. We need people. Men particularly have been socialized not to ask for help. I think men struggle to admit that they're wrong about things. And I think I put it down to a masculine and feminine quality. I think that for the purposes of evolution and survival, which is our main purpose in life, we had to be masculine. Us male figures had to be masculine to survive and support the community. Women needed to be more feminine for their own reasons. Now we don't have to just survive in life. We've gone much higher on the Maslow pyramid, as we understand, and hopefully the listeners understand. Our basic needs have been met, so now we can gear ourselves to what we really want to do. And I think the problem is we've taken ourselves away from the idea of community, which is what we needed to survive all that time. And I think in order to thrive, we really need to understand the benefit of community intelligence, spiritual intelligence, should I say.
Yeah, I would agree, because I think what you're touching on is what I call duality. Yes. And I think it reminds me of a waterfall, the classic masculine energy of the rocks that form the basis of the waterfall, but the feminine energy of the water that flows freely and fluidly over the rocks. But without either the rocks or the water, it doesn't exist. The waterfall doesn't exist. So I think we live in a world of duality, and I think to me, we need both to varying degrees at different times to create what we have today. So I think what you're talking about is really current, as well as actually the community. And I think more and more we need partnerships. We need to work together to achieve for the greater good. And I think working on our own is always going to be much more.
But it's the and rather than the and or. Yes. In the current narrative, we are constantly being reminded of toxic masculinity and the patriarchy, and on the other hand, it's the victims. And I just think it's easy to monetize that narrative, because I've got the answer for you, rather than saying, well, actually we all have feminine and masculine qualities, and men should continue to be proud and develop their masculine, assertive, extrovert, confident personalities, but develop the nurturing, compassionate, openness, friendly side that is the feminine quality. And on the other hand, women need to be encouraged to develop their confidence and their assertiveness and their extroversion, but not give up the softer side. Instead of pitching us against each other as men and women, I think that's just absolutely intrinsically destructive. And that's the journey that I don't want to go on. I don't want to go on a destructive journey. I want forward momentum. I don't want to crash out of the sky.
And now you're talking, and that's really interesting, because you're taking me on to the point of what I really wanted to ask you about. So you've talked about your past, you've talked about your current situation and your views on where you're at. You're a coach. So what I wanted to ask you about is about future. So how do you consider, how do you determine that future vision for yourself? And not just yourself, how do you help people that you work with do the same?
I think at the end of the day, we struggle to understand what our value systems are. I don't think we're encouraged to really nail down what we're here for, what our purpose in life is. And I think for me, it's simple. I just want to leave this planet having done as much as I can and to create a positive impact. And if I can, I think the most important, the simplest thing is to put a smile on our face, because I think not only will that make us feel a bit better about ourselves, and it can be the basic grin of trying to smile, which is obviously very inauthentic, or we can put on what we call the Duquesne smile of genuinely really feeling that joy of life. And all the opportunities are there. So for me, I want to feel joyous. I want to feel as though I can genuinely put a smile on my face. And of course, when we develop that emotional intelligence of understanding what the negatives and what the positives are, all the chemicals that are knocking around the body, we have the capacity to think about others. And I think for me, listening to not only myself in my emotional development, and then listening to others in my spiritual and community development is really important for me, because I love experience. I love walking down the street and talking to somebody in the cafe, simple as that. So just listening to hear what people's stories are. Everybody has a fascinating story, and I cannot stand the waste of human potential, cannot stand the waste of human capital. I think it's disgraceful. I've seen suicide as a teenager from 3 people pretty close to our family, and we can throw life away so easily. But I think it's the responsible thing to absolutely maximize on our potential for the community. I think so. For me, vision really is what am I doing to benefit humanity? What am I doing to benefit the community in my street, or the local sports club, or even in the cafe? That's what drives me forward when I'm finding it hard.
Right. So what you've talked about is 2 of the core components, isn't it, of vision? So what do you value very highly in your life? What are your 10 top core values that you really you've got now and you want to take into the future? You don't want to change who you are at the core. So part of our vision is very much that, isn't it? It's about what do we value and what do we want to take forward? But the other part is what you just said, is very much about the impact that you want to have in this world, and how we're going to impact others. Because I believe that, by giving to others, we receive ourselves. And that's just a personal view. But how do you or how do you help the people you work with determine what that future looks like? So, in terms of future impact and their understanding their values much more.
Again, I think it's one of those things. It depends on the person I'm talking to, but I just think that whole image of when we're 7 years old, I use that as a bit of a pointer. It's the summer holidays, weather is absolutely beautiful. Wake up in the morning, the birds are singing, there's nice warmth, there's beautiful rays of sunlight are coming in and mottling the bedroom. What is it that gets us out of bed? Is it because do we want to stay in bed and read a wonderful story of adventure, or a book about the moon and the sun and science? Is it that we want to get out and chase the butterflies, or roll around kicking footballs and cricket balls, or swimming or climbing trees? Or what is it that we can remember doing? So I like to get back to talking to my I wouldn't say them, I don't want to call them clients, because I just think that that corporatizes it. I think that just any conversation you have, you try and find out what people get tremendously excited about and passionate about, and we can bring up the conversations of religion or politics, and you get a bit of an idea of what people are passionate about, and then you go into those areas of thinking what's getting people's emotions fired up, whether it can be the happy or the struggling emotions, and I think you start to understand it.
Yeah. So one of the techniques I use, just to share with you, is really, as you say, most of who we are is formed by the age of 8 years old, understanding who we are. And it's because we're so unconscious at that age that we really don't know. We're being absorbing so much information into us from our parents, from our school, from our community, from the society we live in general. But as a youngster, we just are like sponges, and we absorb all this information. And I think that really forms part of who we are at a core. And I think as we grow up, and it sounds like when you were talking that there is those experiences that we have in our teenage years. We're a bit rebellious sometimes, maybe not be, but where we test out, do we believe in what the values that we've been given from an early age? And some of us go, yeah, that's me. Or some of us will go, no, that doesn't feel quite right, because I'm experiencing something different, so that we like, okay, no, I value this more now because I'm more independent and I've traveled the world and I've seen other things and things like that. So I think part of who we are, that is, like you say, the very early years, plus the years that we really do go out there and experiment as a youngster. And I think, as we grow up, we always, significant events as well, don't they? They really do change us in a way, because it sort of gives us that kick up the backside to say, look, a bit like you were saying when you were, when you went into flying, would you have gone into flying if you hadn't had that impact from the previous thing? But how would you, so if people are listening today, how would you help, if they're on their own now, what sort of things would you ask them to help or suggest to them to find out what that future vision could be for themselves? Is there any techniques that you've got that you would take your clients through or people through? I don't like the word clients.
No, absolutely. I have a bit of a unique thing, because there's a thing called the empowerment dynamic, where you have the coach, you have the creator, the coach, and the challenger, in contrast to the drama dynamic, which is the persecutor, rescuer, and victim. So it's very much, what do we want to create in life? What have we got for the future? Where do we want to see our future? What do we want to achieve in a month or 6 months, 3 years, 5 years down the line? So having a real think about that, whether it be our jobs, whether it be our relationships, whether it be love, whether it be with parents or children, etc. So I have, morphed it or created it into the concept of commander, captain, and co-pilot, because I'm in the aviation world. So if you think about it, we're sat on the end of a runway and there's a mountain ahead of us and some nasty weather, thunderstorms ahead of us. And you've got a co-pilot sitting there who's come out of training school recently and has just said, don't go anywhere near mountains and don't go anywhere near weather systems. And you've got a weathered captain in the other seat saying, well, I understand the theory. My experience has suggested that if we take this heading, etc., if we go off in that direction, we can still achieve our goal, still land where we want to. On the other hand, the captain can be a bit cynical and a bit egotistical and shut up, young lad. And, you don't know what you're talking about. So we need a guiding system. So we've got the captain and the co-pilot there. We need a commander. And the overall commander for me is our value system. It's just saying, why have you set that goal in your life? Why do you want to go there? Are you prepared to take a little bit of a risk? Are you prepared to put the hard work and the self-education to go out and study and not wait for someone else to tell you what to do? So I think it's trying to establish what people's motivations are. Again, whether they're motivated by fear of failure or motivated by the wonder, the opportunity in life. I have another saying that our fear of failure is the motivation. If we have limiting beliefs, can't do this and can't do that, because of our experiences in the past, because of our cultural upbringing, because of genetics, whatever it is. And I call them the little bastards. So the limiting beliefs are the little bastards. And because it's an aviation terminology, well, it's a flying thing. I talk about UFOs, which I define as unlimited fabulous opportunities. And the difference is that the limiting bastards are the things that are stopping us taking off the runway of opportunity, and they're holding us where we are now. We're stuck. And there's loads of theoretical aeroplanes and people lining up behind us saying, come on, get going. And we're blocking people's ability to move on, including ourselves. So we either get off the runway because of our limiting beliefs, or we think, well, let's go for the UFOs, the unlimited fabulous opportunities. We don't know necessarily what the journey is going to take, but it's incredible. And Einstein is always one of my reference points. He talked about imagination. Imagination is imagination is everything. It's the preview to life's coming attractions. But there's a huge amount of uncertainty there, and the important thing is to develop the confidence to see that uncertainty, doubt, and fear, etc., is actually a very empowering thing. and developing the courage to think, I'm just going to go out there. And it doesn't mean to say you set your goal for 5 years ahead. It's right, tomorrow morning, I'm going to get up 5 minutes earlier and brush my teeth and have a drink of water. And I'm going to go out for a bit of exercise, whether it be 2 minutes walking around the block, whether it be just doing some 5 press-ups on the ground. It's having the courage just to make those tiny little, those decisions to launch. We've got big plans, long haul destinations. In my mind, we've also got the short haul destinations. So not to overcomplicate it and think this is totally overwhelming. Everybody else has achieved much greater than myself. Let tiny little marginal gains, as Sir Dave Brailsford talked about, the cycling coach from the UK team from years ago. Tiny little things. 1% change in getting up earlier, 1% change in having a bit more water in the day, 1% change in a bit more exercise. And I think that's how we develop our courage, because then it gives us the fuel to go on to the next stage. We're going through this maintenance process and also refueling for the next long haul destination. We just build up our experience and then realize as we go along that the world is opening up for us. The UFOs, the unlimited fabulous opportunities continue to unfold and develop in front of our eyes. Keep that forward momentum.